The Vesica Pisces is two circles that come together partially, right? They overlap and they form a third space. But in this space of overlap, where the two circles become one, basically, you're birthing a third space, a third frequency that combines pieces of both of your frequencies. So by joining our intentions in working through this unique partnership that we have, we found a way to also create a third partner, a third component of this partnership. And this is what I consider a conscious coupling. The Vesica Pisces is actually the shape of creation, of union, of new consciousness forming through contrast. So we each contrast each other, but when we come together, we create something completely different, a space that becomes our co-creation. And this is what's possible, even though your partner may not want to awaken. But that doesn't mean that it's any less magical. That's what we're discovering. He brings his frequencies, I bring mine, and we create something completely different in the middle, which is really amazing. Welcome to Howling at the Moon, where the mystical meets the practical, and the canine spirit guides lead the way. I'm your host, Leigh Strom. In 2022, I experienced a sudden, life-changing spiritual awakening. After a lifetime of struggling with, who am I and why am I here? For 5 decades, the world felt cold and confusing. Now I see the patterns, the purpose, and the bigger magical picture. My mission? To help you find your way through your own awakening journey. Here, you'll discover limitless possibilities for spiritual growth, powerful healing frequencies, and extraordinary energetic professionals, each designed to guide you into deeper healing and remembrance. Some episodes feature enlightening wisdom from spiritually evolved guest healers, visionaries, and authors. Others are led by the multidimensional canine spirit guides themselves, sharing their unique intergalactic wisdom and frequency. If you've been craving deeper truth, multidimensional healing, and a little cosmic magic, you've just found your pack. Listen and watch on Spotify or YouTube, and bring the magic back into your life. Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to Howling at the Moon. I'm your host, Leigh Strom, and today I thought we would deviate from the norm just a little bit with a very important topic. Sometimes when you start to wake up spiritually, you might be in a relationship with someone who's really not into it, maybe someone who's still asleep or literally has no interest in becoming spiritual and enlightening themselves. And this can be really disheartening, frustrating, sometimes agonizing. I know it was for me. And it can, if you allow it, it can be a barrier to your ability to fully awaken. So I want to talk about this today, and I have some really incredible insights on this dynamic. And my husband and I, of course, have found our way through this maze, and we've discovered some incredible things as we've made our way through this. So I want to share it with you today because so many women are waking up, and yet not as many men are. So we're going to find ourselves in a dynamic where we're coupled with partners that aren't interested in what we're doing. And we're going to discuss whether that's okay or whether we need to make a change. That's an important question. We all need to have an honesty we all need to have with ourselves and with our partnerships. So let's take a look at this, shall we? So how should you navigate it if your partner doesn't want to venture into this realm of spirituality, the unknown, maybe a dynamic history that involves past lives or even lives on other planets? What if they look at you and they think you're crazy? What are you going to do? You've been in this relationship maybe for a long time, or perhaps you're starting a brand new relationship that you're very excited about. And this topic actually doesn't only pertain to a romantic relationship. We could be talking about your family members, your friends, your parents, your siblings, your best friend. Sometimes this might apply even to a work relationship. So just see where this lands for you, because even if you're not in a romantic relationship right now, this is really good information for you in general going forward in how to navigate the relationships you already have before you change a lot. And you will change as you awaken. Trust me. So we're going to talk a little bit about this and see if we can clarify a few things for you. Okay? So is it possible to stay in this relationship that you have, even though your partner doesn't see eye to eye with your objectives, with what you're going through, maybe what you believe or what you're learning? Is it really possible for it to succeed, or is it doomed? And is it time to call it quits and maybe choose a different partner or find your way on your own? That's a good question. And it will always be a question you need to have with yourself before you have this with your partner. But what do you think? What are your impressions at this moment on this topic? What have you tried in the past? What's worked? What hasn't worked? Have you learned anything about yourself that gives gravity to this question, right? As we experience life, we learn a lot, don't we? So my husband and I, Paul, have been married for 25 years now. So we've been together almost 30. And my awakening came only just recently, a few years ago, which kind of upended the relationship that we knew, right? So it changed our dynamic completely. Now, he's a very loving, loyal, steady partner. I describe him sometimes as a quarter horse. He's just not bothered by much. You can always count on him, and he doesn't jump to conclusions or judgments, but yet he doesn't really have an opinion either. So this can be an easy temperament to work with. So this might not be where you find yourself, but he's also an engineer. So he's very left-brained. And no matter what he tries, he can't seem to ease himself out of being very scientific, grounded in fact and proof. And so he has a really hard time when I bring things forward from the quantum. This doesn't resonate with him very well when I just share with him my history as an interdimensional being, as having a life on other planets and as another race. This just doesn't go over well with him. It's not his cup of tea. So we've had some real heartfelt questions about what was the best plan of action to take regarding our new alignment, because we're still aligned as a couple, but I'm in a totally different place when we made that alignment. So it kind of looks like a graph, so to speak, like a jagged graph now, because our alignment isn't straight across. That's not unusual. I mean, that's common in many marriages. You have to find your middle ground on many fronts. So because of this, because we can't give him proof of what I'm experiencing, it's not something that he can just open a book and read, or he can experience for himself, because until you're open, you can't experience it. So if you don't want to awaken, it's not something you can just jump into and go, yeah, this is real. Yeah, it's not. You have to kind of believe so that you can awaken. But because of this, I consider him a skeptic. So this becomes almost a polarity for us. Me, I'm open, I'm believing, I'm mystical, magical. I can see things that he can't. And I can see how the big picture all comes together and works seamlessly together. And he can't see any of that. So we are presenting now in our coupling, our marriage, an opposite polarity. Basically, I'm one way and he's the other. And so this can cause a lot of friction, because as we go through life, I want to approach life one way and he wants to approach it another. So for some couples, this would be, nope, I'm out of here. I also find that I can't share a lot with him because it overwhelms him. So I find that I'm holding myself back from the marriage just because it's not something he can even conceptualize what I experience at any given day in my life. So I don't have that partner that I can confide in, I can share with, or that I can go and do activities with. So I do everything on my own, and he does what he likes to do on his own. So can this really work? As we've navigated through this, we've discovered some really incredible things about this dynamic, which I want to share with you today because this might help alleviate some of the pressure, some of the stress, some of the need to feel like you must make a decision or you must have a partner that fits X, Y, and Z, right? Because that's not always possible. But what we found through this process is that we've really grown together. The more we learn about navigating this dynamic, the stronger it makes us as a couple. And so we've become really excited about this because we've jumped in with both feet as we learn some really cool things about ourselves and how we interact with each other. And this also helped us to grow as a couple because we both had to find our space. We had to clearly define who we are, what we're willing for this partnering to look like. And then from that space, we could then define how do we bring this together? How do we cohabitate in this space? And how do we co-create in this space? Since we're not on the same page, it kind of makes it harder to co-create sometimes, right? Because our energies aren't always in the same direction. But one thing that's really important we have discovered, and we found our way through this almost immediately, you must be fully, I mean, brutally honest and transparent. So that means first that you have to be honest with yourself, really truly understanding your deep core emotions, your needs, your desires, and then really weighing that against, is that my higher purpose coming through, or is that my selfish, childish ego coming through? So you really have to balance that information. And that takes a lot of practice, maturity, self-reflection, and deep shadow work. Honestly, had I not done the shadow work before I got to this point, it probably would not have ended in the same result. So that's an important factor for you guys to realize. If you're coming from, the wounded child ego that feels betrayed just because your partner doesn't want to follow in your footsteps, then that's going to become a rift in your marriage. And that's not something your partner can accommodate for. That begins with you, not with them. So you have to really clearly understand your part and your role and your responsibility in this dynamic in order for it to work. And so your partner does as well. And if you're dealing with a partner who doesn't want to take accountability, that can be really, really hard no matter what you do. It may not be possible. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. We won't go too deep into it, but we'll talk a little bit about what we've discovered. So we did go initially, we had to find our way through the hard question of, do we stay together or do we dissolve our union? So this is important because you don't want to stay in a relationship, in a marriage, in a union of any sort if you're being held back from being who you truly are. So in some relationship dynamics, your partner is not going to want you to change because who you are now feeds their ego. It actually feeds their identity. So if you change, they get lost. So if you're in that type of dynamic, that's not going to work, right? We both had to decide, or not decide, we had to learn to just let go of the reins. So I needed to change quite a lot, which would change the things that we like to do together sometimes, because the old things that were important to me were no longer as important to me. So that would change what I would want to do with my time. We used to do a lot of mountain biking together. That's changed a lot. I still enjoy it, but it doesn't consume my life like it used to. So that was a big change for us. So My husband, Paul, had to be comfortable doing some of those activities by himself or finding a buddy. And that was something that brought us together. So that's a core value within our relationship, within our marriage, that we had to shift a little bit. It's important that you're both able to identify your own lane, identify your own entity, your own being without the other person, and then be able to come together in some sort of middle ground and enjoy that middle ground together. There's an amount of maturity that's necessary from both parties to own yourself, be accountable for who you are, your emotions, your baggage, your shadows that you need to address. And as long as the two of you are able to do this for yourselves, then coming together shouldn't be a problem, right? But we had that uncomfortable conversation many a times. What do we do? And so we came up with a litmus test, which I'm not going to share with you today, but it's a 5-question test that we just check in with, not together necessarily, but on our own. We'll check in with this test on our own to say, okay, is this still working? If we answer no to any of the questions, then it's something that we need to look at again. If we answer yes to each of the questions, then we're good to proceed. So this is something we've sort of stumbled into throughout this process, which we will be sharing, but not today. One thing we had discovered in this process is how magical this scenario can be. I really was upset at first because I wanted someone to share my experience with. I wanted my partner to be as passionate about what I was passionate about as I was, right? Because then we could do things together. We could meditate together. We could write books together. We could do plant medicine together. We could channel together, go to all these workshops together, travel the world and enjoy the same things, right? Sounds like a fairy tale, doesn't it? But what we discovered is that what we're creating is just as powerful as that. And it's a win-win for both of us. And it doesn't hold us back, either one of us, and it allows us to nurture each other. And that was earth-shattering when we finally figured this out. And I'm going to share that magic with you in a moment. But right now, I want to be sure and stress that I'm not saying you should stay in a relationship with someone who's abusive or oppressive or in no way has your best interest in mind. If you are going through an awakening, you need to feel safe. If your partner doesn't create that safe space for you, no matter what their opinion is, if you don't feel safe, you can't stay. Basically, you've got to be, if you're going through an awakening, lots going to change for you. You're going to become very vulnerable. You need to be vulnerable when you're going through your shadow work. Many scary things will come up, possibly painful things, and you need to be in an environment where you feel supported, loved, nurtured. So even if your spouse, or maybe your partner, or your best friend, or your family, even if they don't agree with what you're going through, if they're not able to provide that feeling of safety for you, then you really need to make a decision. And it needs to be only for you, the best thing for you, not for anyone else. So consider that as I go through the rest of this show. All right. Now, the really exciting thing that we discovered is that totally accidentally, we were creating a Vesica Pisces. Do you know what I mean by this? It's a sacred geometry element, a symbol. The Vesica Pisces is 2 circles that come together partially, right? They overlap and they form a 3rd space. Now, I'm a Pisces, so that made sense to me. But in this space of overlap, where the 2 circles become one, basically, you're birthing a 3rd space between the 2 spaces, right? So each of us individually holds our own sovereignty, right? Our own circle. If a circle represents your own individual sovereignty, then you each have a circle. When you bring these 2 circles together and they overlap just a little bit in the middle, you're creating a 3rd essence, a 3rd frequency that combines pieces of both of your frequency. So by joining our intentions in working through this unique partnership that we have, we found a way to also create a third component of this partnership. And this is what I consider a conscious coupling, right? Because consciously, we are together. Consciously, we support each other. Consciously, we allow each other to be who we need to be. And through this overlapping third essence of us, we've created a space for both of us to come together, basically, really. Now, the Vesica Pisces is actually the shape of creation, of union, of new consciousness forming through contrast. So we each contrast each other, right? Because we're not the same. But when we come together, we create something completely different, a space that becomes our co-creation, essentially. So it would be like having a yin yang symbol that had a baby in the middle, right? For those of you who've had children, couples weave this Vesica Pisces as they bring their essence together and they create a completely separate third essence. This is your Vesica Pisces. So this is really powerful. And this is what's possible even though your partner may not want to awaken. And your partner's goal in this life may not be to awaken, but that doesn't mean that it's an any less magical union. Actually, that's what we're discovering. So if Paul did intend to come here to awaken and then suddenly changed his mind, which we all have the right to do, that doesn't mean I don't still have the space, the frequency, and the support to do what I need to do. Right? That's pretty incredible. So in this equation, we've both discovered we each bring our own focus, our own energies, and our own structure to the equation. And then together, we weave a really beautiful harmony with it. So it's like creating a song or creating a painting. You know, he brings his frequencies, I bring mine, and we create something completely different in the middle, which is really amazing. You know, we don't have children. So for this type of creation is really powerful. And this becomes an option or an alternative that I never considered possible before. And to me, it's really magical because, you know, I still have that masculine container that I need for my feminine creation because my husband just naturally holds that space. He just holds the frequency. He's the grounding rod. He's my North Star. So no matter what I'm doing in the world, no matter where I'm at in my journey, he's always at my true north. I know where I'm coming home to. All right. Even though he says he doesn't want to awaken and he doesn't want to be this mystical, magical person, as I'm elevating my frequency, by default, he has to elevate his frequency too to keep up so that he can stay and share the same space. Now, he's not aware of this, but his soul allows it to happen because on a subconscious level, it is necessary to a certain extent. The soul knows more than the conscious mind does. And sometimes the soul will agree to participate on an unconscious level with this type of progression. And that can be really magical too, because then he doesn't feel threatened by it, but yet he is still kind of keeping pace. We've noticed this, and we're going to share this in great detail. Now, what's also magical is that this whole conscious coupling that we've fallen into was disclosed to me through one of the canine spirit guides. It was a new canine spirit guide that came through, and her name is Zarin, and she's really amazing. And she actually specializes in this very thing. If you've listened to my radio show, you might have met her already. I'm not going to be introducing her today because we already have enough to talk about, but I will be introducing her soon. Now, as I've mentioned in conversation, this topic and the discoveries we've made to other people, there's been a lot of interest in, well, how are you doing that? Or how do you make it work? Or how do you know when? So my husband and I realized there's a need for this type of conversation. There's a need for this type of knowledge. So we're going to be addressing this in a new podcast we're having together, we're creating together. The podcast is called The Mystic and the Skeptic. Guess who the mystic is? yours truly. And the skeptic is, of course, my husband. And we're going to talk about all things that are possible when one soul awakens and the partner doesn't. And we'll explore the beauty of it, the heartbreak of it, the humor in it, and also the humor in bridging two very different worlds in one marriage, because it can be a really beautiful dynamic. We're going to share the ups and the downs and the paradoxes of our unique conscious coupling. And it's going to be a raw and real program. We're going to embrace everything that comes up. That means if we argue, or if we have a tough time, or if something painful comes up or scary comes up, we're going to be addressing it right there on the show. We want to be totally transparent with our audience, because I think this is really important for people to understand, for you to be able to see this process in other people so that you know you're not alone, so that you know that what you're going through is part of a very healthy process. And we're all human, right? And sometimes things are really tough, ugly, messy, uncomfortable, and not fun at all. But that's where the real growth happens. So if you run from it or avoid it, you deny yourself the change, or you deny yourself the chance to grow into an even more enlightened person, right? The goal of our show, of this new podcast, The Mystic and the Skeptic, is to assist you in navigating your relationship through this sometimes scary, tense, emotional time. So each episode will be accompanied by an easy to follow exercise, or maybe an exploration, or even a meditation to help you, and maybe your partner, if your partner is willing, to find that middle ground for both of you, to find your Vesica Pisces, or for you to align with a soul connected direction for yourself, whatever that may look like. So be sure and check it out. You can already find information on it on my webpage, heatherleighstrom.com, on the media page. There's already an introductory episode waiting for you, and we will begin dropping this podcast in November of 2025. Now, I'm still going to have my podcast. Of course, I do my own thing, Howling at the Moon, where I introduce all the incredible canine spirit guides that are coming through, the interdimensional frequencies that are here to assist humanity through this very thing, this awakening process. And also, I have occasional incredible spiritual guests to share with you. So be sure and stay up to date on this podcast as well. Now, Zarin would like to offer everybody who's listening today a very special activation. Even though we didn't introduce her today, she's chomping at the bit. But she wants to help those of you who feel like you are being challenged in your relationship with your partner, as far as being in totally different worlds, having different objectives in life. And so I will be linking her meditation activation in this description of this show. So be sure and check that out if you'd like to experience that. It's free. You just have to follow the link to get to it, okay? So hopefully this left you wanting more, because I have more to share with you, of course, about Zarin. And then we have the new podcast coming up. So all those links will be in the description, and you can always find information on my webpage, heatherleighstrom.com. But that's all for now, folks. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I'm your host, Heather Leigh Strom. So no matter where you are, beautiful soul, don't forget this. You are amazing. You are magical. You are powerful beyond measure. And as always, elevate your frequency and transform your reality. Make your life magical. Love ya. Thank you for joining me today. The healing session for this episode with the Canine Spirit Guides is now available exclusively through my subscriber portal on Substack. These energetic downloads are sacred transmissions, and by moving them to a dedicated space, I can connect more intentionally with those of you who feel called to receive them. It also helps me get to know you a little better so that I can more effectively serve and support this growing community. If you'd like to access the healing frequencies of this episode's Canine Spirit Guide and future transmissions, just head over to my Substack at heatherleighstrom.substack.com and become a subscriber. Whether you join us there or simply tune in here, the Canine Spirit Guides and I are so grateful to share this path with you. And be sure to stay put because there might be more coming on this podcast. Hi, I'm Heather Leigh, the Mystic.
And I'm Paul, the Skeptic.
We've been together for almost 30 years. I live in a magical world filled with synchronicities, messages, mirrors, and cosmic wisdom.
I live rooted in logic, science, data, and spreadsheets, very tethered to visible reality.
And yet together, we make it work.
We support each other, knowing we're on different journeys with different perspectives and purposes.
We created this podcast to help you find your own middle ground, whether you're in a relationship, a marriage, or a partnership, to offer tools and conversations for navigating the friction that can arise when awakening happens at different speeds.
Or doesn't happen at all. We'll share what we've discovered in our own conscious coupling and give you insights, practices, and clarity
that have the potential to support your union at a whole new level of consciousness and respect.
Keep in mind,
we're not licensed therapists.
We're just sharing our personal experiences with you.
Welcome to the Mystic and the Skeptic.